Alrighty, everybody, welcome to another episode of Decimal Recapping. I'd love you to write down our learning intention, our WALT for the day, and we are learning to order decimal numbers based on their value. So can you write that down, please? Pause the video if you run out of time, and you can come back to it. Okay. When it comes to decimals, we need to know which are bigger and smaller just to understand our basic place value. Just like a normal number line, of course, if we had 0 at this end, we'd be ordering these numbers as follows. 1, 2, 3, and so on. We know that, of course, that they would be going up in equal distances, and 1 is certainly less than 3. Exactly the same applies when we've got decimals. First of all, you're having a look at each of the numbers in the same column to figure out which is bigger. And they're all equal at this point, so 0, 0, and 0. Next up, we're looking at the next column along. So I've got a 1 there, I've got a 2 there, and a 3 there. So just like our whole numbers of 1, 2, 3, these are exactly the same. 0.1 is going to jump just there, 0.2 just there, and 0.3 just there. Because the numbers are in the same column, the tenths column, we can order them absolutely accurately. Now what I've done is I've changed these numbers all over the place, and our job is to order these absolutely correctly on a number line. First things first, we're going to check the ones column, and we can see that they're all 0 in the ones column. So we know that they're not going to go crazy along this number line. If 18 was in the tens and ones column, we know that that would be way up here. But because 0 is in our ones column, we are good to go. All right, next up, we're going to have a look at the next column along, which is the tenths. Remembering that tenths are definitely smaller than ones, but hugely bigger than hundredths, okay? So the tenths actually are the next column we're looking at. So I've got a 1 there, I've got a 2 there, so I know that this one, with the 2 in the tenth, is bigger than this one. And I've got a 0 in this column. Now, because the 0 is there, I know that 0 is less than 1, so this one is going to go absolutely first. Perfect. So now I've got 0.04 there. Even though it's got a 4 there, and that's bigger than the 1 and the 2, I'm actually just looking at the tens column, the tenths column. So 1, 2, and 0, it means that 0's definitely the smallest. If I keep looking along, I've got 1 in the tenths column and 2 in the tenths column. So even though it has a 9 here, and 9 is definitely bigger than 5, I promise you that this one just here is going to be the next number in our number line, and this 0.25 or a quarter is going to be our next number along. Okay, and you can see that when I write these as fractions, you can see the difference. This is going to be 4 over 100. This is 19 over 100. And this is 25 over 100. Yep, so absolutely perfect. You can see that 4, 19 and 25, that is the correct order because 4 is way less than 19 and 19 is a little bit less than 25. This time our number line has extended from 0 all the way to 1, and I'm going to see if I can place all of these 6 on the number line. Don't worry too much about this 18 area. That's just to show you something else with regard to decimals. We'll put that just at the top there and reduce that down and over there as well. Okay. Our numbers are 0.04, 0.19, 0.25, 0.914, 0.041, and 0.091. All right, we can see there that they're all less than 1 because they haven't got any whole numbers at all. They're all less than 1, so they're all going to live somewhere on this number line. All right. First things first, we go to the next column along and see what might be at this end and might be at this end. So we've got a 9, a 0, a 0, a 1, a 0, and a 2. So I know all of my zeros are going to be way lower than all the rest of them. So I'm actually going to put all my zeros together and we'll work on those very shortly. And the rest of them, we're going to put somewhere else. So I'll put my zeros there, and I'll have a look at these three in a moment. There's my zeros, and these three are going to be lined up just here for a moment. All right, so I've now got my zeros in position, and I know that those zeros are going to be way less than these, because in the tenths column, there's a 0, and we know that 0 is less than any other number in the 10th column. All right. Next up, we're going to have a look at this end and see which is our highest number. And we know from looking at our 10th column that this 9 is definitely bigger than the 2 and the 1. Even though we've got a 5 here and a 9 here, it's irrelevant. This 9 means that this is our biggest decimal number, and that's going to live just at the end there, 0.9. It's only 1/10, and it will move up into our ones. Technically speaking, we've only got 86 hundredths to go before it becomes a whole number, so it's way up there. All right, next up, we've got 0.9 and 0.25. So 0.19, definitely a little bit smaller than 0.25, so we're going to put those two just there. Now, this is definitely not a to scale line. Technically speaking, it would be a lot longer just to fit all these decimal numbers on, but just for the moment, let's put those there and make sure we know that 0.25 and 0.19 are on there, ready to go. Okay, last things to do is have a look at these three numbers. We've put them in position because they've got the 0 in the 10th column, and now it's time to figure out where they all belong. Okay, have a look yourself first, see if you can guess what I'm going to do next, and maybe you can figure out what's up next. Alrighty, first things first, we've had a look at this 10th column. We've noticed they're all 0, so they're very, very close on our number line, but we'll definitely have some order to them based on our next column, which is the hundredths. So the hundredths column is this next one along. So I've got a 4 in that hundredth column. I've got a 4 in that hundredth column. So they're very similar. And I've got a 9 in this hundredth column. Now I know that 4, even though it's 4 hundredths, is definitely lower than 9, even though it's 9 hundredths. Exactly the same as if they were whole numbers. 4 is at least 5 less than 9. Technically speaking, it's 5 hundredths less than 9. So I know that our 9 is going to go just here. It's smaller than this 0.19 because it's got a 0 in that 10th column, but it's definitely bigger than these two. Okay, we know that in the hundredth column they're the same, so we're going to move on again. In this thousandths column, oh, there's no number. Well, that obviously means it's a 0. If there's no number at the end, just imagine there's a 0 there. In the thousandth column, this is 0, and this is 1. So I know that 1 is way bigger than 0. It's only a thousandths bigger, but technically speaking, it's bigger. So we're going to whack that just here. And then finally, 0.04 is our smallest number. So he's going to live just at the start of our number line. Okay, in today's task, you're going to have a look at ordering some of these numbers, and hopefully you can work out which is bigger and which is smaller. You'll have a number line very similar to the one we've been looking at. And of course, your job is just to order these decimal numbers based on their value. So head to Google Classroom, have a look at the task that has been assigned to your class, and make sure you fill it in and finish it off, and then hand it in to your teacher. That's a really important step. Hand in. Make sure you're clicking that button to hand it in. As always, if you are extending yourself, there is an extra task to have a look at, and I would look forward to seeing that extra task submitted as well. Good luck, you guys, and look forward to our next session soon.